I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. And this is Currents. Are these the leaders of the future?
We're able to really discern what God is calling us to do. I think that's a huge step for a 6th grader, 7th grader, and 8th grader.
A woman experiences a miraculous cure, and it could make a man a saint. She shares her story. Plus, Robert Duvall has a leading role in a new movie, but so does faith.
I think there's spiritual things in it without trying to hammer it home.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. How does summer school sound? Not so much fun, right?
Not really.
Well, for most students, it's not where they want to be, but a program at one local high school is changing all that.
That's right. It's called the Father Troike Leadership Program, and it takes place every summer at Cathedral Prep in Elmhurst. It's named after one of its founders, Father Edward Troike, and it began following the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy.
The goal is to turn young men into leaders, the leaders of tomorrow. The program hosts the graduation for those future leaders tonight, and we met some of them recently when we paid a visit to the school.
The Father Troike program began as the Cathedral Prep Leadership Program in 1968. In the summer of 1968, 4 priest members of the faculty really looked at the state of the world after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy, and they decided that young men really needed a place where they can come to learn leadership, when very few places were going out of their way to be culturally diverse. The Father Troike program really went out to be as culturally diverse as possible, and really to actively ask these young men, come here. And through the program to say, would you be open to think about the vocation of the priesthood? Now, over the years, the program was extended to our own class of incoming freshmen, and when I became the director of the program, I changed the 7th grade program into an academic preparation for the test for admissions to Catholic high schools, and I implemented a 6th grade program.
Leadership is how one shows the right path to take, which path to take, and why.
They teach you how to stay strong. They teach you ways to improve your life and skills.
I was always a shy kid, even still now. I'm a very shy kid, and that was the main thing that it helped with me. It was being able to talk to people, to befriend people, to get to know people.
Things like that just kind of snowball into becoming an adult, and hopefully with the formation here at the Troike program, a holy, healthy Catholic leader.
My brother, he graduated in 2005 from Cathedral. But he had also gone to the Troike program, and he'd also been a counselor all those years. And he had always said it was a really good thing to do to get a feel for the school. And that's really what convinced me to come here to Cathedral.
There's a slight formation in the Troike program that no one really notices, that to kind of instill Catholic values and leadership values and kind of entwine them into one.
What we try to do is find a young man who really exemplifies the idea of leadership and all that they say and do. And this year we found a young man who really is trying his best, trying to exemplify the spirit of the program.
I think the program is really good. I built up my education. I think I learned a lot from this program.
When you go to the program, we have Mass every day and things like that. And all this, even if you don't go to Cathedral Prep, it helps in finding out, discerning what God is calling us to do in this life.
And a large number of young men came to the Troike program, didn't come to Cathedral Prep, but later on went on to priesthood.
My faith is strong, and I love God. I am thinking about coming to Cathedral Prep because I've been wanting to come here since I was 7.
We're able to really discern what God is calling us to do. I think that's a huge step for a 6th grader, 7th grader, and 8th grader.
Well, stay tuned. There's much more current straight ahead. When we come back, we'll have the day's headlines, including a Catholic professor fired over what one student called hate speech gets his job back. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, we'll sit down with an Academy Award-winning actor to talk about his latest film and faith.
But first, let's turn to the day's headlines. A University of Illinois professor who was fired after explaining Catholic teaching on homosexuality will be back in the classroom this fall. Kenneth Howell was let go after a student called the comments hate speech. But the university said this week Howell would return as an adjunct professor and teach the Introduction to Catholicism class this fall. A spokesman for the Alliance Defense Fund, a Christian legal organization representing Professor Howell, said his group is extremely pleased about the school's decision. A former political prisoner of Cuba arrived on American soil this week after being released as part of the country's deal with the Catholic Church. A crowd gathered Wednesday at Miami International Airport to welcome Ariel Sigler. Cuba's government arrested Sigler and dozens of others alleged dissidents back in 2003. The former heavyweight boxer is now paralyzed because of health problems he experienced after his arrest. Thanks to the arrangement with Cuba's Roman Catholic Church, Sigler was released and granted a U.S. visa so he could receive medical treatment in Miami. Sigler says he will return to Cuba at some point. He also called for the release of more political prisoners. Two prominent U.S. Catholic groups filed a brief this week in a lawsuit against the University of California. In the brief, the Catholic League and Ignatius Press accused the school and the state's public university system of discriminating against religious students and censoring faith-based classes. The suit was originally filed in 2005 by a group of students from Christian high schools who accused the University of California of refusing to grant them credit for certain courses. The university says the classes did not meet its minimum standards. In South Florida, a store manager was confronted with a terrifying situation when an armed robber entered her store. But as we hear from Diane Fernandez, this story does not end as you might expect.
I really hate to do this. I have the money in the register.
It may look and sound like a typical armed robbery, but it would soon become anything but.
Don't get scared.
I'm not.
Okay? Nice and calm.
You know what? I know you can do whatever you want. I'm just going to talk with you about the Jesus I had.
The what?
The Jesus I got before you leave.
God bless you for that.
I'm Christian and, you know,
So am I, and I absolutely hate doing this.
the allergy costs us $89.
Nearly a week later, 20-year-old Nayara Gonzalez, the manager of this Pompano Beach Metro PCS store, still can't explain the calm that possessed her in those usually terrifying seconds. She calls it divine intervention.
I don't think it was me. It was some angel or God or something.
The surveillance video, complete with audio, shows the obviously repentant robber crumble at the words of this Christian clerk. His head down, his voice passive.
I don't know if you have a family. I don't know what happened.
That's why I'm doing this.
You know, but you know what? I can try to help you try to find a job. I have a lot of friends in
I have a job.
church. You do?
Yeah.
So why are you doing that?
Because I'm going to be evicted if I don't come up with $300.
Then the would-be robber asks Gonzalez if she owns the store.
Then I wouldn't be hurting you. I'm sorry. I have to take at least that. I'm sorry.
They will charge me for it.
They'll charge you for it.
I'm the one responsible. No one comes here.
And with that, the armed gunman has a change of heart.
I don't want to do that to you. I'm sorry.
But before he leaves, he'd say
God bless you.
and make a confession.
You want to know something? It's not real. It's a BB gun.
He didn't do anything. And I'm very thankful to God at first and then him. Jesus helps you. He can change your life.
Well, that is Diane Fernandez reporting in Pompano Beach, Florida.
A priest in China's underground Catholic church who was recently released from prison is back behind bars. Father Peter Wong served for 3 years for celebrating Mass without proper authorization. He was released from jail just last week, but Asia News, the news agency there, reports that he was immediately re-arrested. That news service says Chinese authorities want Father Wong to join the government-backed Catholic Patriotic Association. Meantime, the Vatican sent a letter to priests in China this week thanking them for their loyalty and courage in the face of government oppression. We'll get details on that part of the story from Rome Reports.
The prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, Cardinal Ivan Diaz, and Secretary of the Congregation, Archbishop Robert Serra, have written a letter to the priests of China. The letter expresses gratitude to the priests' loyalty and the exemplary and admirable courage shown by Catholics in China to the Vatican, despite the persecution that many have had to suffer because of the faith. Cardinal Diaz concludes by encouraging China's priests to distinguish themselves as men of prayer and to live an austere life, far from any ambition other than to follow Christ. China is the world's most populous country, with more than 1,300 million people. Their practice of the faith is severely hampered, and many priests and bishops have been imprisoned.
In France, some nuns who recently signed a high-profile record deal have received death threats. The Benedictine nuns of the Abbey of Our Lady of the Annunciation signed a major deal with Decca Records to record an album of Gregorian chants. Reports say the nuns posted a clip of their music online, but later realized several death threats written in English had been left on that web page. The nuns told police and asked them to keep a close eye on their convent. The album will be called Voice, Chant from Avignon, and is set to be released in November. And finally, it's a TV talent show that's supposed to be educational and entertaining, but the winner will not be signed to a record deal. A Malaysian TV station is combining religious tradition with the new trend of reality TV. CNN's Dan Rivers has more.
The search begins.
It may look like American Idol or X Factor, but the contestants aren't vying for money or a record deal. This is Imam Muda or Young Imam, Malaysia's TV talent show where contestants compete to become a Muslim cleric.
A program that will change your life.
A big claim, but the producers were determined to break the rules of traditional religious programming.
The approach is how we want to make it interesting for the young. Because like I said earlier, for any religion to attract the young closer to God, it's a big, huge challenge.
10 finalists try to maintain sincerity. Difficult under the glare of the studio lights. The winner will get a job at a prestigious mosque, a scholarship in Saudi Arabia, and an all-expenses-paid pilgrimage to Mecca. The producers say this show is a reflection of Malaysia's modern and open form of Islam. It's designed to provoke debate among Muslims, but also importantly to draw in young viewers with a slick set and dramatic elimination rounds. Each week, 1 or 2 contestants are voted off if they don't make the grade. The producers claim this isn't reality TV, but for wannabe Imam Nuri Ali Arbain, it sure feels like it.
So far, I'm very sad because this results, because I don't know. I did the best in my exam.
Some of the practical tests have been tough, preparing HIV-positive corpses for burial and helping families through difficult times. There's no Simon Cowell, instead a former Grand Mufti, equivalent to an archbishop, is one of the judges. He insists the show is educational as well as entertaining. Millions are expected to tune in on July 30th to find out
who will be crowned with the title of Imam Muda.
For a religion that is often portrayed as staid and conservative, this kind of TV show is nothing short of revolutionary.
And that is CNN's Dan Rivers in Kuala Lumpur.
And I thought the only reality TV news out there was that Ellen DeGeneres is not going to return to American Idol.
Right. It's not exactly Malaysian Idol, but still.
That's right, apparently not. Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents coming up.
Coming up, is it a miracle? A young woman talks about her amazing healing and the role it may play in making a man a saint. Welcome back. Well, a lot of people in Brooklyn and Queens are familiar with Chaminade High School out on Long Island, but fewer people may know about the man for whom it is named. Father William Joseph Chaminade, a French priest and founder of the Society of Mary, or the Marianist order. He died back in 1850 and was beatified in 2000.
Now, in a remarkable development, Father Chaminade may soon be declared a saint thanks to a miraculous healing of a young woman in Missouri. Recently, that woman, Rachel Lozano, told us her story, and she spoke by phone with our own Natalia Ortiz.
Hello, Rachel. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Rachel, so about, 12 years ago, you were diagnosed with Askin's tumor, which is a tumor of the chest wall, and you were actually still in high school when this happened. Briefly tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. Like you said, I was diagnosed as a sophomore in high school, and I was playing sports, and my back started hurting. They thought my backpack was too heavy, and it turned out that I had a tumor pressing on my spinal cord, and I had to have emergency surgery, and I went through a year of chemotherapy and radiation, and then it recurred 2 more times in the later years.
So you've since been cured, and you've been cured for about 6 years, is that correct?
Yes.
So obviously all the press that you've been getting, all the attention is because you believe that this was because of your prayers to the Blessed Chaminade, to the priest who actually founded the Marianist order and who's actually from French Revolutionary times. Tell us why you believe that is.
Well, I went through normal medical treatments, and when I had run out of options there, I really turned especially to prayer and the intercession of Blessed Chaminade to God, and I just really felt a peacefulness when I was praying to him, and all of the doctors cannot just explain why I'm alive today.
Yeah, what do the doctors say? Because I know I've seen some of the other interviews where the doctors really, your doctor can't explain, and he says actually that some of the predictions, survival rates, I guess I should say, are pretty much slim to none. By this time, this shouldn't have happened.
Yes, as far as we understand, I'm the only person with my type of cancer to survive a relapse after a stem cell transplant. There is no record of anyone else having had that experience.
And so, of course, the Archdiocese of St. Louis has finished with their canonical investigation, and they've concluded that this was a miracle, basically, and that you were cured because of your prayers to the Blessed Chaminade. What do you have to say about, I guess, your role, or the role of your story in all of this, and the possibility that that has something to do with now him being, hopefully, declared a saint at some point?
Well, I'm just very blessed to be a part of the whole process and hopefully be able to inspire others with my story, and I've been able to meet so many amazing people throughout everything.
How has this experience changed your life or impacted the way you live your life?
I've always said that cancer is the best and worst thing that's ever happened to me. People always obviously can understand the worst, but the best part is the people that I've met and the experiences that I've been brought to, and also obviously through this entire prayer experience, I've just learned a lot about myself and a lot about other people and about praying.
Right. And so, speaking of praying again to William Chaminade, why him of all the other saints or of anybody else you could have prayed to? Why did you decide to pray to him?
Well, growing up, I was in a Marianist parish, and so I had heard about him from when I was very small. And then in 2000, in between my first and second times of being sick, I actually was asked to go to Rome for his beatification ceremony. And so I just really felt a connection and felt like he was the person to pray to for an intercession to God.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being with us today. We appreciate your time, and we hope that this story will continue, and hopefully he will be declared a saint.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Just ahead, Robert Duvall on film and faith.
And I hate to use the word message, but there's a good human thing there that people could take away.
All right, here's an interesting question for you tonight. How would you like to plan your own funeral, have your own funeral, go to it while you're still alive? Well, that is the intriguing premise behind a new movie starring Robert Duvall called Get Low.
The Academy Award-winning star made his mark in movies like The Godfather, but he's also won acclaim for some smaller, more personal films, some with spiritual themes like Tender Mercies, The Apostle, and now Get Low. Robert Duvall's latest film, Get Low, opens in selected theaters nationwide today.
What can we do for you, sir? I'm after a funeral. Boy, are you in luck.
Like one old preacher said, one more day I'm afforded, to live one more day above the ground. You know, so it's kind of like they get low, but you could even go as far as to say get down to Jesus, to be humble, to get down, to believe something. I think there's spiritual things in it without trying to hammer it home.
Whatever you want. Party. A what? A funeral party. And I want to be there. You will be, I guarantee you. I want to be there now.
I was drawn to the character because of the writing and because of the situation. The guy that sets up and goes to his own funeral, I found that very interesting, and it caught me.
And the critics agree. Get Low has gotten high praise and, at last check, an 89% fresh rating on the Rotten Tomatoes website. Real Faith's Stephen Gradanis is among those lauding the film.
Get Low is the kind of movie that, as a critic, I just love to discover. It's an offbeat gem of a film, a small-scale character study that becomes a portrait of an entire world and finally a meditation on the rough edges of the human condition. The movie is a meditation on the shape that death gives to life, on the workings of guilt and grace. Its spirituality has to do with the ways that people punish themselves, sometimes for decades in a futile attempt to atone for sin.
But while there are serious themes, Duvall promises audiences they're in for a good time.
Without sounding corny, it's a feel-good movie with good, and I hate to use the word message, but there's a good human thing there that people could take away.
A far cry from the high-voltage action films Summer is famous for, big-budget pictures often substituting gratuitous violence for character.
I went to a movie the other night last week. They must have shot 35 people in the movie. Just kill. I mean, come on. But people like that. I guess they buy tickets for that. That may sell more tickets than this, ultimately.
While it's true that Get Low probably will not outperform the more highly anticipated spectacle-driven films on the market, it could enjoy the success of a film close to Duvall's heart, The Apostle, a movie that shares similar themes and was well received by believers and non-believers alike.
Billy Graham liked it, and I got a letter from Marlon Brando. He liked it, from the secular and the religious.
What Duvall was doing in The Apostle was a really extraordinary thing. He was taking seriously a world and an ethos which Hollywood had never seen in that light before.
Knowing the Bible somewhat, coming from a Protestant background, I always had a curiosity. It didn't offend me. When I first stepped foot in a Pentecostal church, it didn't offend me. It kind of inspired me.
Duvall's performance in The Apostle is widely considered one of his best. Another parallel with Get Low, whose central character, Felix Bush, asks his neighbors to share their recollections of him at his funeral. Which begs the point, how would Robert Duvall like to be remembered?
Hopefully they will take away that maybe my journey from the cradle to the grave was beneficial to others, as well as myself, without stepping on too many toes.
About time for me to get low.
Love it. And you can check out more about Get Low and hear more of Stephen Gradanis' thoughts on Net's movie review show. It's called Real Faith. It'll be on next Friday night, and that's pretty cool looking. I like that.
He's such a great actor, and a couple of other great ones in there, Bill Murray, Sissy Spacek. What I like a lot about his character is, as ornery as he is, it is sort of about atonement and redemption, and the fact that he wants to enjoy his own funeral or be present at it is sort of a novel concept, but like he says, it's a meditation on life and on the human condition.
Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting concept, and one that I'm glad that Robert Duvall, because he brings there's a certain aura about him, a certain air about him and his just his presence in a movie. And he has that ability to just become that character. And there's something so human and just so great. You can tell that he just connects with that character so well. So it's going to be very interesting. And I, for one, want to check it out.
Real feelings. All right, sounds good. That's it for tonight. Meantime, remember, we are always online at currentsny.net. You can also check us out on Facebook. And if you have an idea for a story or you just want to get in touch with us, you can always drop us a line at, the email address is dropusaline@currentsny.net. So if you want to go to the movies tonight, you know what we recommend.
That's right.
Until next time, I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night and a great weekend.
Looks like a good movie.
Yeah.